Okay, while the stage is being rearranged, I am going to tell you a little bit about the next speaker, because talking about risk, he actually took an $8 billion risk and completely upended the structure of a major global brand, which is the kind of thing that I think would keep me up nights. But I saw him yesterday, and he was remarkably relaxed. So to tell you how he did it, I am very happy to introduce Stephen Shiffman, the Chief Executive of Calvin Klein.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. You know, when Vanessa came to me a few months ago with this opportunity to speak to you, I said, of course, yes. And then I saw the topic that she gave me more recently, Risking It All, Reinventing Calvin Klein. And I must admit, Vanessa, I smiled a little, I laughed a little, because I could assure you, you are not the only person to imply that I must be crazy for undertaking the changes I have over these past 16 months. But I'm not crazy. I'm absolutely not crazy. So let me tell you a little about Calvin. Let me tell you a business story. Let me tell you a personal story, because for me, there's really no way to separate the two. So here's the next stage of Calvin Klein from my vantage point. There's a quote that has always resonated with me. The true meaning of life is planting trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. Now, I've been around Calvin Klein and the parent company, PVH, for about 25 years. Yes, 25 years, remarkable. I've seen the company up incredibly close, and I know you too. You know our company pretty well. I was named the CEO of Calvin Klein 3 years ago. And when I took the job, the biggest question was already pretty obvious to me. How does a brand meet the future when you're about to turn 50? For those of you who don't know, Calvin Klein is going to be 50 years old in 2018. This may not be unique. In fact, I know there's some brands in this room that are over 50 years old, but we have to admit it's incredibly rare. So I see that my job is to make sure that our brand is relevant for decades to come, for our employees, for our consumers, and for our shareholders. And to do that, I developed what I came to describe as my after I'm dead strategy. Because you can't build a great business if you're only focused on what happens on your watch. You have to keep one eye on the ground in front of you, and the other eye must be on the future. And I think the most meaningful definition of success is to build something that is lasting. That's what matters to me. So here's the other thing I was conscious of when I took the job. We all know this quote, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We are all human. We are all so fragile. We all have hopes and we all have fears. We could be so easily tempted. When I took over Calvin, the business was about $7 billion plus in global retail sales. It is an incredibly beautiful and unique brand. It had an iconic past with most of you know. We have a global footprint. We sell our products in 40 plus different countries. The history of the brand is based on a jeans business, an underwear business, a fragrance business, and a 205 collection business. A year before I was named CEO, the parent company, PVH Corp., bought back the two foundational components, jeans and underwear, from the previous owner. The numbers were relatively good. A lot of work to do. But when I got the job, the temptation might have been as simple as, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's so tempting to convince ourselves that more of the same is, to convince ourselves that change is unnecessary. After all, change is expensive. Change is risky. And God knows, I've learned that change is incredibly stressful. It's so tempting to see tomorrow as a better version of today, but that isn't reality. Every great business has to be willing to jump from one growth curve to another. I've always believed that you have to meet the future head on, and doing more of the same simply was not in my heart. We all face the business challenges every day. As you can see, disrupt and be disrupted. How many times have we heard this? We're all living this every day. I heard in the panel before, changing consumer behavior, diverging distribution channels, the death of brick and mortar retail. How many articles have we read about the death in brick and mortar retail just in the last year? In fact, one just popped up this morning. The rise of artificial intelligence, just to name a few. I know that everyone agrees that sitting and waiting is not an effective strategy. As leaders, we have to act. We have to look to the future. We have to make the best decisions we can based on the imperfect knowledge we have in the present. At Calvin Klein, though, we had another reality, and frankly, one that nobody spoke of publicly. Well, maybe I did. We had already been disrupted. 3 years ago, we were a fashion company with diminishing fashion relevance. We could sell you jeans, we could sell you underwear, and maybe we could sell you fragrance, but there was no linear dot that connected our brand. If Calvin was going to be relevant for the next 50 years, we needed a cohesive point of view. One that would carry our consumers across all categories and across all geographies and across all channels. Our guiding principle became very simple. Whether an item costs $5 or $5,000, it must be an object of beauty. It must be an object of desire. There was another driving force behind my conviction that we needed to change. I felt we had a responsibility as a company. Calvin Klein, as you know, has a history of being a disruptive force. From a business standpoint, Calvin created designer jeans, designer underwear. We were the first brand to launch a unisex fragrance. But this company has done so much more than that. This company has led at important times in a society's history. Calvin Klein has always stood for inclusiveness, for a person's right to be seen and to be heard. When the AIDS epidemic, which I know affected our industry and many of us in this room so personally, was a conversation to be avoided in polite society, Calvin put it front and center in the iconic ads starring Marky Mark and Kate Moss. Today, I believe more than ever, we must stand up for what we believe. 3 years ago, I felt that we had lost this part of our DNA. We were not willing to provoke conversation. The time had come once again to say and show what we believed. We needed a revolution. There's a single force that unites everybody in this room: creativity. It runs through each and every one of our companies. Without it, we have no business. So what was my strategy? Some of you may be asking. Well, I decided to double down on creativity. Creativity has the power to turn uncertainty into possibilities. It lifts our hearts and it lifts our minds. It raises our sights. It makes things make sense. I was certain we needed to focus all of our expression through one singular lens. We needed a confident, provocative, and connected point of view. We needed to create products and experiences that made our hearts beat faster. As you all know, I asked Raf Simons to join me on that journey. And it's so fitting when you told me this was in Brussels. For those of you who don't know, Raf was born about 2 hours north of here. So I asked him to come. He actually is in Belgium, but he's working on something, and unfortunately he could not make it. But I'm sure he would say hello. Raf had the characteristics I was looking for. His willingness to look at the world through both a lens that is both aspirational and inclusive. And I believe that's one of the reasons that Calvin resonated with him so profoundly. He has an incredible commitment to the individual. He has respect for what Calvin Klein is, but more so, a willingness, as you have seen, to confront what Calvin Klein can be. And he brought one more thing with him, a belief both he and I share, a belief that Calvin Klein can and will be one of the world's greatest brands, a brand that is both luxurious and a brand that is inclusive. Today, luxury is not just about price. It means different things to different people. For some, it's about having the best. For others, it's about having better. It's not enough for a brand to create a singular definition of luxury. It has to be more democratic than that. Our goal is to always make people feel special. I think that's what luxury really is, a feeling that something is special. At this point, I'm confident we've planted the seeds for the next stage at Calvin Klein, which doesn't mean it's easy, and I want to repeat that. It has not been easy. Marrying art and commerce is not for the faint of heart. Creativity requires risk, and it depends on uncertainty. Commerce demands predictability. Creativity is fueled by the conviction of the artist. Commerce is fueled by the need to sell. That tension is a daily reality in our lives. But today, we live in a world that moves at the speed of thought. And creativity and commerce must be partners if our businesses are going to succeed. And at Calvin Klein, our creative revolution has asked a lot of our people. Be very candid with you. There have been a number of people that didn't want to take this journey with us, and they left. But I will tell you that almost the large majority of people so believe in the vision and the journey that we're undertaking. But we're living in a moment where change is not only possible, change is essential. It's essential for our business, and we all know it's essential for our industry. And in some ways, for the society in which we live. Society that celebrates our individuality and our humanity. Society that embraces diversity of beliefs, diversity of experiences, and diversity of feelings. These are big ambitions, but I've never seen the point of small ones. Some of you may want to know how we're doing. And if you don't, I'll tell you anyway. When you make big decisions, it's so easy to look for evidence that proves you're right. I've always believed in one simple truth. What we see depends mainly on what we look for. Facts are slippery things, especially in today's society. The truth has become casualty of political and social war, and no one knows that better than the New York Times. Today, we live in an era where my truth is not your truth. My facts have nothing to do with yours. Too often today, we only look for evidence that supports our own thinking. So I remind myself constantly to look at our world through both an optimistic and a critical lens. The pragmatic leader in me says, this is a journey and we're in the early stages. We have so much work to do, and we do. We still need to be more willing to disrupt the status quo. The optimist in me says, we're ahead of where I thought we'd be. RAF has received the CFDA awards for Men's and Women's Designer of the Year. More recently, the Wall Street Journal Award for Innovator of the Year in Fashion. He's up for the British Fashion Awards in December. Our social media audience has grown immensely over this past year. New doors are being opened faster than we can walk through them. Is lasting success a straight line from where we sit today? Of course not. Nothing's that simple. Do I believe we have increased the probability that one of my successors can stand here in 2067 and talk about his or her plan for the second century of Calvin Klein? Yes, I do. In the daily demands of metrics to include KPIs, SKUs, it is so easy to forget that we represent businesses that have been built over decades. But if, when that story is told, it is read under the shade of the tree I mentioned earlier, I will have done what mattered most to me. Thank you.
I really like that after I'm dead strategy.
Yes,
I think I'm gonna adopt that one. I have two quick questions,
Sure.
and then we will let everyone else ask you what I'm sure are many. PVH is not a group I really think of as being, fond of taking wild artistic risks. So how did you get them to do it, or sign off on it?
That may or may not be true. Obviously, it was proven incorrect, right? PVH is,
Or you were a pioneer.
Yes, well, I think it has a lot to do with mutual respect between myself and the corporate CEO, Emmanuel Chirico, who is he's a class act. He's an immensely talented corporate CEO. And we had some very candid conversations about the brand. And in my opinion, not only about doing what's right for the brand, but ultimately, this is about long-term shareholder value. And building a business that's sustainable and can grow into the future is a benefit to everybody.
So what's your horizon line for like proof that it's turned, grown exponentially? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Because clearly this required a huge amount of investment.
Yeah, I actually don't think of it that way. We know where we want to go in the future. So I don't put an unrealistic timeline on it. I will tell you that what has happened in the last 16 months has exceeded my expectation. But as Raf and I certainly talk about, what we need to do is so much more. So we take each day, we have a clearly defined strategy over a 3 to 5 year horizon. And the good news is that we're ahead of where I thought we would be. But again, much more in the future.
I mean, you talked a lot about, perception of the brand and the way perception of the brand has changed and the excitement around it, which is absolutely true. I mean, the fact that Raf won both those awards at the CFDA was, extraordinary. Especially because none of his collections had actually hit stores yet. So now they have, right? They've been 3 months.
First collection hit in the July-August timeframe.
So are sales backing it up?
Yeah, the business has been very good. So I'm very, very happy to say that. We launched a second show, has sold in, which will be delivered, in the month of January, February, March. So far we're very pleased with the results, and the consumers, which are the most important aspect of everything, are voting in favor of what we've done so far.
But you're not going to tell us the numbers.
No, I will not tell you the numbers specifically.
Okay, questions from the floor? Really?
There's one over there.
Okay.
I have some of my people over there, so I'm sure
There,
they're not allowed to ask questions, right?
Hello, Eva Taub. Just a quick question. What are some of the other strategic points beyond doubling down on creativity, which obviously is the overriding umbrella? I'd be curious to know some of the other strategic points.
Strategy. There aren't so many. There are probably 5 or 6. Like every other business, we need to ramp up our digital experience, both in our own businesses and the business partners we do business with, and there's a lot of efforts underway there. Also, as I referenced earlier, just when you look at the history of the brand, we started the designer jeans business, and I have to be very candid. Right now, what we've done in jeans over the past several years has been disappointing. It's not up to our expectation. There is a very significant investment in really regaining, re-earning, and re-owning our position as the premium designer jeans brand in the world, and we will.
Okay, there's another question there.
Hi, I'm Tarika Adams. I am MBA graduate from Exec Business School, MBA in International Luxury Brand Management. And I just had a question about the strategy, 3 to 5 years. You said, so you want to increase your investment into e-commerce. What about the luxury retail space?
Yes.
Because I know you only have at this time one retail store, the Madison Avenue store. Are you looking to increase that?
Yeah, right now I think what you're asking is our investment in brick and mortar.
Yes, exactly.
In the 205 collection.
Yes.
That's the question? Yeah, of course we are. We're looking to open up. We're not just going to do a shotgun approach and just start opening up everywhere. We will intelligently pace ourselves, intelligently identify the key cities that all of our partners are already in, and we're already well underway to do that. I would also say that we're looking at the flagship store on Madison Avenue, which is 25,000 feet. We did a beautiful short-term renovation, but we are looking to invest a very significant amount of money and redo that store in the relatively near future. And at the same time, look for other locations, which we will open in the next several years.
Any other questions?
There's one over there.
Alex?
My name's Alex Bolin. I manage a luxury brand, and perhaps a brand that is in some ways similar to Calvin Klein. We have a legacy of licensed products. What's that?
You can say what
Oscar
it
de
is.
la Renta. We have a legacy of licensed products, and over the last 15 years, we have moved to do more things in-house. I'm under the impression that Calvin Klein still has an important part of its business that it works with partners on. How do you manage those partners when you're doubling down on creativity? And perhaps as a related matter, tell me about your view of wholesaling, and in particular, department stores in the U.S. Certainly from my position, they're under fire. We're struggling to figure out the right way forward, and would love to hear your views.
Okay. Yes, Alex, we've met before, actually, so it's good to
Good
see
to see
you.
you, Steve.
That was a dual-ended question, though.
It was multi-part.
Yeah. So let's start with how do you manage licensees when you're doubling down on creativity? It, frankly, depends on the quality of your licensees and your business relationship. If you look at our fragrance licensee or sunglass or eyewear licensee, they're very good partners to us. We have, or a footwear licensee, we have embedded designers in our building, so they really live the brand, and we work hand in hand. Where you have a licensee that's not as close to you, it becomes more of a challenge. But I actually think we're fairly blessed to have licensees that we work intimately with, and whether it's Raf or Peter Moulier, who also joined us, also from Belgium, by the way, they work hand in hand with the heads of design. So the aesthetic of the brand are really, it's linear, if you will, and it will be embedded in every line that we produce that has a Calvin Klein name on it. The second question is, how are we managing department stores? Is that what you asked?
Wholesalers.
The wholesalers. Well, the wholesalers are mostly our own teams and or our licensed teams. So if the question is how do we manage them relative to the department store distribution, we manage them in collaboration, we manage them with transparency, and we manage them with a high degree of candor and discussion on who we should distribute to and who we shouldn't distribute to. And as you know, our brand has, just when I took over a few years ago, there's work to be done in terms of the clarity of our distribution. But I will say that I'm impressed, and I'll reiterate, not only with our own teams, but also with our licensed teams and their willingness to engage with us as we take this journey.
Okay, I think Jonathan had a question, and then we'll go to break, although don't leave the room because there's housekeeping.
Just wanted to say congratulations on your jeans project, because and am I right in thinking that, so did you cancel the jeans line, or you kept with the same partner and then just elevated it?
Well, jeans is in-house.
Yeah.
So jeans used to be owned by a company called Warnaco a few years ago. As underwear. We brought it back, and we've been investing significantly into it and really regaining our position as the premium jeans brand in the world. And we will.
Yeah. No, I think you've done an amazing job. I just wanted to say, how somebody you can transform it so quickly and get it in all the right stores, and looks very cool, but it's very well executed.
Oh, thank you. It hasn't been that quick, though. Believe me. Thank you.
Okay, before we thank Steve and go to break,
Thank
I
you,
just
Vanessa.
want to make a quick announcement. Lunch today is free seating. However, if anyone is interested in taking part in informal discussions, we've actually put a couple different subjects on specific tables. And so look around and see if there's a subject that grabs you and you want to join a discussion over some food. Topics will be actually outside during the break right now, so you can start thinking about it. And I expect everyone to be back here in this room at 10:50 sharp. Thank you.
Or else.